Recently, Apple allowed for a return of retro emulators to the App Store, much to the glee of those of us who are both into classic gaming and have an iPhone. So I figured, what better excuse is there than this to try it out and join the ranks of Android users who've been enjoying this feature practically since the beginning. To quote one popular mustache hero, here we go. As a child of the 90s, growing up with the majority of these games, emulation has been a staple in various forms since the beginning. While they were pretty neat at the time, they weren't without issue, from compatibility and stability problems to controller setup and multiplayer woes. Thankfully, now more than ever, it's super simple to get into, such as RetroArch, a popular front end that can load multiple cores and even has online functionality on cores that support it. But then again, that's PC. Today we're talking about mobile, more specifically iOS and the Delta Game Emulator. As of right now, it's the go-to free emulator for iOS, and one of my favorite things to see is no data collection. So not only does it look nice and clean, it doesn't track you. And as for the look and feel of the app, it does a great job with the portrait mode. The skins in the mode is a nice touch, and it's perfect for most games. But you can also rotate the landscape viewed for a wider view on Game Boy Advance titles specifically, though you do have issues with the UI blocking some screen elements, but it's mostly a non-issue. And it does have support for a wide variety of controls, which is nice when you want to get serious about it. But there's countless other ways for that, so I mostly use it with the touch controls, considering my use case is for something I'll always have with me and I can pick up and put down without having to rely on something additional to carry along. Anyways, enough about the app itself. Here's a short list in no particular order of games I've been playing and how it's turned out. First up, Super Mario and the Six Golden Coins. It's a classic Game Boy game. It is made for the Game Boy. It's its own Mario game, but it's still the side-scrolling 2D classic Mario. It's perfect for the form factor. I love seeing the little UI of the Game Boy Color as I'm playing it, and it controls pretty nice. You'll find with a lot of these games, because you are playing on a touch control, it's hard to get dead center again with the control, but it's manageable. And I'm sure those of you who've been playing on a touchscreen for a lot longer than I have probably already used to that. Not to mention, it's the best user interface because of how large everything is in scale in terms of aspect ratio and everything. Then there's Zelda, the Oracle games, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. Same positives as before, and one of my favorites from back in the day. As a big fan of the top-down Zeldas, these really take me back to playing on my blue Game Boy Advance SP. Man, great times. It's just a great game. If you like Zelda, especially the top-down style, they're a bit shorter than the usual fanfare, but I mean, and I don't know how relatively well received they were in the community, but to me, they're fantastic games to go back to, and just fun to pick up. Ogre Battle 64, if you're a fan of tactics, you'll remember this. It looks fantastic in either orientation, isometric for the most part. It's got a mix of like real-time strategy and tactics. So I guess more if you're a fan of, I don't know how to describe it. It's a mix between RTS and on the overworld, but then in battle it's turn-based. But it's not a full-on turn-based. Either way, it's a fun game to go back to if you like that style of a tactics style game. Or tactics on Game Boy, tactics on PlayStation, fantastic. This, not quite the same, is in the same vein, and if you like great stories, great art style, fantastic game. N64 actually handles pretty well. Granted, this is not an action game, so your mileage may vary on that. I have played a little bit of those, like Diddy Kong Racing or Mario 64, which they play okay. Probably better with a controller, but that might just be me. As far as tactics though, pretty much works from the get-go. I'm surprised at how little effort it is to get any of these ROMs running. Unfortunately, they are only Nintendo games currently, or Nintendo systems, with more coming in the future. Paper Mario 64, another fantastic one for the device, for the emulation. Again, it's an RPG, not much in terms of like action, so you don't have to worry about the touch controls getting in your way too much. And it just looks great. It looks great, and portrait or landscape. And my favorite thing about all of this, the fact that they finally brought this back, is I've been looking for games to play on my phone, and I've been sad that like there's not been much to play on my phone. It's mostly just been, you know, the same apps or games that have been on there since the beginning on the App Store or whatever, Clash of Clans and all that. I'm like, where are the good games that aren't like $25 for a bad port? Square. And then this comes along, and I'm like, finally, I get to do like I used to on my Pixel and everything, and I get to play some great games. Don't have to worry about an internet connection. I can go back and play games I even missed out on, like all the Metroid games on the handhelds. Didn't get to play any of those besides the Game Boy one, on like the OG Game Boy one. Didn't get to play the remake of that. Didn't get to replay the remake of or Fusion. So I'm looking forward to that, and playing some classics that I've always liked. Anyways, comment down below if you have any favorite games from the past that you would like to go back to and play, or that you're currently playing. Maybe you're already in the emulation scene. What are some of your favorite emulation systems what are some of your favorite systems to emulate? You know, what emulation software do you use? You know, give me a like if you liked it. Anyways, let me know down below. Have a good one.